In the shining heart of the Velnari Empire, Queen Lysera sat upon her crystal throne, her silver crown glowing under the light of twin suns. Her empire stretched across 50 star systems, her people proud and strong, and no one dared question her word. The queen believed she had seen everything: wars, peace, alliances, and betrayal. But she had never believed in old stories in the Grand Council chamber, filled with advisors, generals, and scholars. The talk of the day was strange. The scholars had found ancient texts from the outer colonies. They spoke of an ancient race, humans. Some called them myth, others called them monsters, and one old priest even claimed they were the bringers of balance. Queen Lysera laughed softly, her voice echoing like music through the hall. Humans, she said, the warriors from bedtime tales. The room joined her laughter. Only one man did not. Old Seer Thalen, whose blind eyes still saw more than most, my queen. Thalen said slowly, my father's father told me the legends of the Terrans. He lifted a trembling hand. They were not gods, but something close. They were feared by all, respected by few, and forgotten by fools. The queen smiled kindly but dismissively. Forgotten by fools, you say? Then perhaps I am one of them, she said, for I do not believe in warriors who could burn stars or break fleets with their hands. The generals laughed again, one of them striking the table. If such beings existed, we would have found them by now, he said. They are gone, my queen. Stories for children. But the old seer shook his head. Gone, yes, he said softly, but never dead. Lysera waved her hand, ending the debate. Enough of this nonsense. We rule the stars now. The Velnari Empire is unmatched, and no ghost of humanity can challenge us. Outside the palace, the twin suns set beyond the towers and far above the capital world. The stars shifted strangely, unseen by most. For the first time in 10,000 years, an ancient Terran satellite blinked awake, its red light pulsing like a heartbeat in the void. That night, as Lysera dined with her closest advisors, a message came from the border patrols. Captain Rin, her most loyal warrior, appeared as a hologram before her throne. Your Majesty, we have detected something unusual near the Dara sector, he said. It is not natural. The queen raised a brow. Explain. The scanners found a transmission, Rin continued, but it's in no known code, repeating the same phrase again and again. He paused. It sounds old, she repeated, amused. How old can a signal be in deep space? The captain's voice grew uneasy. Our archives match parts of the pattern to ancient Terran symbols. The queen frowned. Terran, she whispered. The same word from the old stories she had mocked earlier. Rin nodded. We believe it is human in origin. For a long moment, silence filled the hall. The laughter was gone, replaced by cold curiosity. The queen leaned forward on her throne, her tone now measured. Send a research ship, analyze the source, and bring me proof. As you command, my queen, Rin said and vanished into static. Lysera reclined in her seat, pretending calm, but her thoughts swirled. The tales of humans had always been stories told to children, creatures of flesh and steel who defied empires and faced extinction without fear. Yet if even a fraction of that was true, what could this signal mean? Outside, the night sky glittered with starlight. The palace observatory windows reflected her image against the cosmic sea. She whispered to herself, if humans truly lived, why did they vanish? The next morning, the Velnari research ship Eclipsera departed from the orbital docks. Heading toward the Dara sector, the queen watched its departure from her balcony, her golden eyes sharp with curiosity. Her advisor, Thalen, stood beside her, his white robes fluttering in the solar wind. You do not laugh now, my queen, he said quietly. Lysera smiled thinly. I laugh when I am sure of things. Thalen, she replied, and right now, I am not sure of anything. Then you begin to see as the wise do, Thalen murmured. Turning away, days passed. The queen tried to focus on her duties, but her thoughts often drifted to the far reaches of space. She found herself wondering, what if the stories were real? What if those warriors truly walked among the stars once? Then, on the 7th day, a message came through. It was from Captain Rin, his voice shaky and distorted. My queen. We found it, he said, a ship. Ancient, older than any Velnari design. And it's still active. Lysera stood from her throne, her heart racing. Send me visuals immediately. The hollow screen flickered to life, revealing the image of a massive, Battle-scarred vessel floating in darkness, its hull was blackened, covered in strange symbols and human script. What does it say? Lysera asked, her voice barely a whisper. Rin zoomed the image and the letters became clear. TSS Vanguard. The Queen felt a chill race down her spine. The ship's lights flickered as though it had heard its own name, and then a voice, ancient and mechanical, echoed across their comms. Vanguard protocol, human life detected, the voice said. Rebooting defense systems. The holoscreen crackled and the transmission ended abruptly. The Queen's advisors whispered in fear. Human life detected? Lysera stared into the dark screen, her mind spinning. She wanted to laugh again, but she couldn't because for the first time in her life, she wasn't sure if the legends were only stories anymore. And somewhere far across the void, engines older than her empire began to stir. The research ship Eclipsera drifted through the endless dark, its engines humming softly as it entered the Dara sector. Beyond the glowing clouds of dust and broken moons, the mysterious signal grew stronger, repeating every 30 seconds, a sound both mechanical and human. Captain Rin stood on the bridge, his armor gleaming under the pale blue lights. Lock onto the source, he ordered. No mistakes. No risks. The crew followed his command, though their hands trembled slightly. None of them liked the feeling of being watched in the void. On the main screen, a shadow appeared, a massive structure half buried in cosmic dust. It wasn't a station nor a moon, it was a ship, larger than any Velnari battleship ever built. The hull was scorched black, its edges jagged like a wound in space. Rin narrowed his eyes, magnify. As the image zoomed in, the old human letters became clear again. TSS Vanguard. The same name they had seen before, the same ship from the Queen's screen. A low murmur spread among the crew. It's impossible, someone whispered. That ship is thousands of years old, how can it still be active? Science will tell us, Rin said calmly, though his voice betrayed unease. Prepare the boarding team. The boarding pod detached from the Eclipsera, gliding silently toward the dead vessel. The moment it touched the Vanguard's hull, the air around them vibrated, a low hum, ancient yet alive. The Velnari soldiers stepped inside, their helmets glowing faintly. Inside the ship was dark, filled with mist and frozen air. Walls lined with strange metal and burned insignias. Scan for life signs, Rin ordered. The scanner blinked red, then green, then red again, confused. What is it? The technician's voice shook. There's a signal, faint but steady. It's coming from deep inside, maybe a life pod. They followed the signal through empty halls where silence screamed louder than any voice. Rusted weapons lay scattered, flags with human emblems half torn yet still proud. One soldier whispered, they fought here, and another replied, and they never ran. When they reached the pod bay, they found rows of stasis chambers, most dead, some cracked, but one still glowed faintly blue. A heartbeat echoing through the air, Rin stepped closer, his hand trembling as he wiped the frost from the glass. Inside lay a man, pale, armored, and motionless, with a symbol on his chest that read, Terran Defense Corps. By the stars, Rin whispered. It's human, back in the palace. Queen Lysera listened to the transmission with wide eyes. The hologram of Captain Rin flickered before her, his voice low but steady. My queen, we found him, he said. A real human. Alive. The hall erupted in gasps, ministers whispering, generals shaking their heads in disbelief. Lysera rose from her throne, her golden eyes burning. Bring him here, she ordered, alive and unharmed. Understood, Rin said. But my queen, the ship, it's waking up. What do you mean? She asked sharply. The systems are reactivating on their own, he said. And there's a voice, an AI, Lysera frowned. What does it say? Rin hesitated. It calls him Commander Jace Thorne, and it says, Vanguard Protocol Online. The Queen felt a strange chill. The name sounded old, powerful. Do as I command, Captain. And bring me that human inside the Vanguard. The air grew warmer, the hum rising into a deep pulse. The AI voice echoed through the halls, mechanical yet filled with something almost human. Vanguard systems rebooting, human life detected. Commander Jace Thorne, status alive. Reviving. Rin and his soldiers stepped back as the stasis pod opened, steam hissing through the cold air. The man's eyes flickered open, sharp and blue like burning ice. He took a deep breath, then slowly sat up. His gaze met Rin's, and for a long moment, silence filled the room. Then the human spoke, his voice rough but strong. Where am I? Rin swallowed. You are aboard your ship, the Vanguard, but this is the Velnari Empire. You've been asleep for a very long time. The man looked around, scanning their alien armor, their faces. Velnari, he muttered. Never heard of them. He stood steady despite the years, his armor cracked but still shining faintly. What year is it? Rin hesitated. The Galactic Cycle 10487. The human blinked slowly, a faint smile appearing. 10,000 years, he said quietly. They said we'd be forgotten by now. The AI voice spoke again. Commander, systems functional, defensive grid offline. Enemy presence detected. Enemy? Rin repeated, confused. The human turned toward the ship's console, his fingers dancing over the keys as if guided by memory. Not yet, he said calmly. But soon. He looked back at the Velnari soldiers. Tell your queen the legends were right, he said. The humans were real and were not gone. Back on the Eclipsera, Rin stood before the camera, his eyes wide as the ship behind him started to glow with life. My queen, he said over the comms. The human has awakened and the Vanguard. It's fully online. Lysra leaned closer to the hologram, her breath catching. And what did he say? Rin swallowed. He said the galaxy will remember the humans soon. The queen sat back, her heart beating fast, her laughter gone completely now. The air in the palace felt heavy, as though the stars themselves were holding their breath. Far beyond her world, the Vanguard's engines roared, lighting up the void like a newborn sun. The legends had just awakened, and they were looking straight at the stars that once forgot them. The ship Vanguard drifted in the cold silence of space, glowing faintly like a ghost reborn. Inside, the air was filled with soft hums, lights flickering back to life after 10,000 years. Commander Jace Thorne stood motionless in the middle of the ancient bridge, his blue eyes scanning the alien faces around him. They watched him with fear and wonder, as if seeing a ghost from a legend. He was human, tall and built like a weapon shaped by war, his armor cracked but still powerful, the insignia of the Terran Defense Corps glowing dimly on his chest. Captain Rin spoke first, his voice respectful but cautious. You've been asleep for millennia, Commander. Your ship was found near our border. Thorne looked at him, his expression unreadable. Millennia, he repeated softly. Then the galaxy really did forget us. He walked slowly to the console, his fingers brushing over controls that no one but him could understand. Vanguard status report, he said. The ship's AI replied instantly. Systems restored at 60%. Human fleet connection, lost. Last signal dated year 2137 Galactic time. Thorne frowned. Then it's true, he muttered. The war ended. But not in victory. Rin took a step forward. On what war? Thorne turned toward him, his gaze sharp like a blade. The War of Silence, he said. When humanity fought the Sealer Dominion, the galaxy's so-called gods. The Velnari soldiers looked at one another. The name meant nothing to them, but the tone in his voice sent a chill through their hearts. Meanwhile, in the palace of Velnari Prime, Queen Lysra prepared to meet the human herself. Her ship, the royal cruiser Radiance, cut through hyperspace toward the coordinates of the Vanguard. Her heart was restless, filled with both curiosity and unease. Thalen, her old advisor, stood beside her. You seek the truth, my queen, but truth has a way of changing the world. Lysra looked out the window, her reflection framed by the stars. Then let it change, she whispered. The galaxy has grown soft, believing in lies. I want to see what kind of creature shaped its fear. When she arrived, the human was waiting, standing tall on the deck of his ship, his face calm, his presence powerful without effort. The moment Lysra saw him, she felt something strange, an instinctive pull between fear and fascination. This was no legend, no myth told to children. This was a warrior born from a time when survival meant conquering gods. Commander Jace Thorne, she said, her voice steady. I am Queen Lysra of the Velnari Empire. He nodded, respectful but firm. Your Majesty, he said. Thank you for waking me. You were a myth to us, she said, a bedtime story. A legend, Thorne gave a small, tired smile. Legends are just truths that people stopped believing in. Lysra studied him closely. The way he stood, the quiet authority in his tone. If the humans were real, what happened to them? He looked at the stars through the viewport, his eyes distant. We vanished because we refused to kneel, he said. The galaxy feared what we could become, so they erased our history, our worlds, and our name. But humanity doesn't die, it waits. His words struck her heart like thunder. She wanted to speak, but a sudden alarm cut through the silence. The AI's voice echoed. Multiple signals approaching, designation hostile. 25 ships incoming. Rin rushed to the console. It's the Dravik Raiders, Your Majesty. They must have followed your signal. Thorn didn't flinch. He turned to the Queen, his expression calm. You said your empire was strong, he said. Now show me. Lysera clenched her jaw. Our fleet is nearby. We'll handle them. The human shook his head. No, you'll watch. Before she could protest, Thorn placed his hand on the Vanguard's core control panel. The ship shuddered as ancient systems roared to life. Light filled the bridge, power surging through the walls like lightning. Vanguard online, the AI said. Weapons at 70%. Shields restored, Lysera's eyes widened. That ship is older than my civilization. How is it still alive? Thorn smiled faintly. Because humans build for forever. The Raider fleet appeared on the edge of the system. Weapons armed, mocking messages flooding the comms. Surrender your relic ship, their leader hissed. Or we'll tear it apart. Thorn didn't even reply, he simply whispered. Fire! The stars turned white in an instant. The Vanguard unleashed its wrath, pure light cutting across the void. Dravik ships vanished like dust in a storm. Explosions painting the darkness in red fire. The entire battle lasted less than 30 seconds. Lysera stood frozen, her breath caught in her throat. She had seen wars, but never power like this. Never precision so absolute. When silence returned, Thorn looked back at her. Now, he said quietly, do you still think humans are legends? She said nothing, her mind spinning. Her empire's entire fleet couldn't have done what this one ancient ship just did. Later, as the debris drifted through space, Lysera stood beside Thorn on the viewing deck. How many more ships like yours are out there? She asked softly. Thorn looked at the stars, his eyes reflecting light from dying suns. More than you can imagine, he said. But they're sleeping, waiting for the right signal. And what signal would that be? She asked. He turned to her, his voice calm but deep with meaning. When the galaxy forgets what fear feels like, he said, we wake it up. The Queen said nothing, but for the first time in her reign, she understood what true power looked like. The legends were not stories. They were warnings, and now they were awake again. News of the Vanguard's awakening spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every relay station, every trading outpost, every corner of the void whispered the same thing. A human lives. In the grand halls of alien empires, rulers trembled. For 10,000 years, the name human had been a story told to frighten children. Now it was real again, and that reality carried a shadow deeper than fear. On Velnari Prime, Queen Lysera stood on her balcony overlooking the city of crystal towers. Her reflection shimmered against the twin suns, yet her eyes were distant for the first time. She did not feel like a queen. She felt like someone standing before something older. Stronger, unstoppable, old Seer Thalen entered quietly, his staff clicking against the marble floor. You've seen him, he said. The warrior from the ancient tales. Lysera turned, her expression unreadable. He isn't what I expected. No, Thalen murmured. He never is, not in any age, she frowned. You speak as if you've met him before. The old seer smiled faintly. I have not, but my blood remembers the Velnari once fought beside the humans before the silence. Your Majesty, our ancestors stood in awe of them, and in fear, Lysera looked away. Now he stands in my palace. A relic of another time, Thalen shook his head. Relic? No, Majesty, a seed waiting for the right soil. At that moment, the palace doors opened, and Commander Jace Thorn entered, his armor repaired, his presence like a storm wrapped in calm. He bowed slightly to the Queen. Your Majesty, he said. Your border worlds are under threat, Lysera's brow furrowed. Who dares attack the Velnari Empire? The Dravik war clans, he said. They think your empire has grown soft. They smelled fear after our little display. Lysera's fists clenched. They will pay for their arrogance. Thorn's voice was quiet but firm. They don't fear you, Queen, they fear what you've awakened. She met his gaze. And what have I awakened, Commander? He stepped closer, his eyes sharp like cold fire. A memory, the kind the galaxy buried. Humans fought not for power, but for survival. We burned our fear into the stars, and those who saw us never forgot. Later that day, Lysera sat in the war chamber surrounded by her generals, holographic maps glowing above the table. The Dravik fleet approaches the Naris belt, one general said. We've dispatched 3 squadrons, but their numbers are overwhelming. The Queen looked to Thorn, who stood silently by the door. "You've faced worse, haven't you?" He nodded. "Numbers don't win wars, hearts do." The generals exchanged skeptical glances. One of them muttered, "With respect, human, this isn't your age, our tactics." Thorn cut him off with a calm but commanding tone. "Your tactics are predictable. Your ships are beautiful but fragile. Your soldiers fight for orders, not for meaning." The room went silent. Lysera tilted her head, intrigued. "And what would you have them fight for, Commander?" He looked at her, his voice low and steady. "For each other." Hours later, the Queen stood beside Thorn on the deck of her flagship Radiance. Their combined fleets were forming up near the Naris belt, dozens of ships gleaming under the pale light of a distant sun. Through the viewing glass, Thorn observed the alien warships. "Your ships look fast," he said, "but they're not built to take a hit." Lysera smiled faintly. "We rely on precision, not brute force." "Precision dies when the enemy doesn't blink," he replied. "Let me show you." He connected his command link to the Vanguard, which hovered silently behind the Velnari fleet. Its systems thrummed like a heartbeat, ancient power rippling through the void. Lysera watched as Thorn's fingers danced over the console. "Vanguard, synchronize with Velnari command grid," he said. The AI responded instantly. "Connection complete." Defensive matrix expanded. The Velnari captains gasped as their screens lit up. Their shields stabilizing, their targeting systems tripling in accuracy. Lysera looked at him in shock. "You're linking your ship to ours." He nodded. "You helped wake me, Queen, now let me help you survive." Moments later, alarms blared. The Dravik fleet had arrived, massive ships emerging from hyperspace, their crimson banners glowing like blood in the dark. The enemy commander sneered across the comms. "So, the Queen hides behind old ghosts," he laughed. "We'll burn your empire and melt your myths." Thorn said nothing. He only whispered, "Fire pattern Alpha." The stars exploded with light. Vanguard's cannons roared, each shot guided by precision beyond any Velnari system. Enemy ships disintegrated before they could even return fire. Dravik voices screamed over comms before fading into static. Lysera's fleet, empowered by the Vanguard systems, moved with terrifying grace, strikes landing perfectly. Ships shielded in harmony, the Queen watched in awe. "We've never fought like this," she said quietly. Thorn replied, "That's because you've never fought with purpose." Within minutes, the Dravik fleet was reduced to ashes, their wreckage spinning silently through the void. When the last enemy ship vanished from the radar, the Queen turned to Thorn, her voice soft. "You saved us." He shook his head. "No, Your Majesty, I reminded you." She frowned. "Reminded me of what?" He looked out at the burning horizon. "That legends don't die, they wait for the world to need them again." Far away, on worlds beyond Velnari borders, hidden sensors lit up, ancient frequencies activating across the stars. Unknown to Lysera, the Vanguard's awakening had sent a signal, one that reached deep into forgotten systems, where human fleets slept beneath frozen suns, and one by one their cores began to glow. The dawn over Velnari Prime was unlike any other. The twin suns rose above the silver skyline, but the light felt cold, strange, uneasy. Every citizen, every officer, every soldier could feel it. The quiet before something terrible. In the palace war room, alarms screamed across holographic screens. The Dravik clans had not fallen back after their last defeat. Instead, they had called reinforcements. Hundreds of ships, war carriers and siege cruisers. Queen Lysera stood before the giant tactical display, her armor gleaming, her jaw tight with anger. "They come for revenge," she said. "They want to crush our pride." Commander Jace Thorn stood beside her, calm and unshaken. "They don't come for revenge," he said softly. "They come for fear. They think if they kill one legend, the galaxy will stop whispering our name again." Lysera turned to him, her eyes blazing. "Then we will show them that legends don't die." Outside, in the orbit above Velnari Prime, fleets assembled. The Velnari Armada, over 600 ships waited in formation. Their hulls shimmered with pale blue light, weapons armed, ready to defend their homeworld. Behind them, drifting like a silent god, was the TSS Vanguard, ancient and scarred, yet alive with impossible energy. Its core pulsed with golden light, like a heart that refused to stop beating. Across the darkness, the Dravik Warfleet emerged, massive, endless, cruel. their ships shaped like jagged blades, their commander's voice echoing through every channel. "Velnari, surrender your world, surrender your myth, or we will burn your skies," Lysera smirked coldly. "Tell them," she said to Thorn. "The galaxy already tried that." Thorn activated the Vanguard's comlink, his voice deep and calm. "This is Commander Jace Thorn. Terran Defense Corps," he said. "You threatened my allies. You stand before Earth's shadow, turn back, or vanish for a moment's silence." Then the Dravik commander laughed. "Human," he sneered. "You belong to extinction," Thorn smiled faintly. "We made extinction fear us once. Let's remind it why." The battle began. Dravik warships opened fire, hundreds of plasma bolts tearing through the void. Velnari shields flared under the pressure, energy fields screaming. Lysera's fleet responded with disciplined strikes, elegant but desperate. Yet even as her ships fought fiercely, they began to fall one by one. The Dravik numbers were too great. "Shields dropping to 60%, the tactical officer shouted. Lysera gritted her teeth. "We can't hold them off much longer." Thorn placed his hand on the console. "You won't have to," he said. The Vanguard systems awakened fully, energy surging through the ship like thunder. The AI's voice filled the bridge, calm yet commanding. "Vanguard protocol, Guardian mode activated." The ship moved, cutting through the chaos like a blade of light, its main cannon charged, glowing white-hot. "Fire!" Thorn commanded. The space before them erupted into brilliance. The Vanguard's beam sliced through the Dravik flagship, tearing it apart from core to hull. The explosion painted the darkness in golden fire. "Target down," the AI said. 54 hostile vessels remaining." Lysera could only stare, her hands trembling slightly. How can a ship that old do this?" Thorn's eyes never left the battle. "Because humans never built for war. We built for survival." The Dravik fleet broke formation in panic. Smaller ships fleeing, but some charged forward, determined to overwhelm the ancient warship. "Multiple impacts incoming," Rin reported. "We can't intercept them all." Thorn gave a cold smile. "Who said we had to?" He activated the ship's forgotten defense systems, Vanguard's drones, small, silver machines shaped like stars, emerged from hidden bays. Thousands of them, each moved with deadly precision, intercepting incoming fire, tearing through enemy hulls with surgical accuracy. Lysera's eyes widened in disbelief. "They fight like living soldiers," Thorn nodded. "They are, in a way. Every one of them carries the mind of a fallen human soldier. Digital ghosts who refuse to rest," Lysera whispered. "Your kind never stops fighting." He looked at her, his voice soft. "It's not in our nature to stop." Moments later, the last of the Dravik fleet began to collapse. Their formation shattered, their courage gone. "Enemy ships retreating," the AI announced. Lysera stood silent for a moment, the hum of victory echoing in her chest. Then she said quietly, "They came to erase us, but they ended up fearing us." Thorn's gaze softened. "Fear keeps them alive," he said. "Respect keeps them civilized." She turned to him. "And what keeps you alive, Commander?" He looked out at the stars, his voice low. "The promise that one day humanity will rise again, not to rule, but to remind the galaxy what courage means." As the fires of battle dimmed, Velnari citizens looked to the night sky, where the ancient human warship stood like a guardian of old. Across distant systems, hidden Terran beacons pulsed once more. One by one, the awakening signal spread, echoing through lost worlds and silent moons. Somewhere far beyond known space, another ancient ship stirred in the dark, and a voice long forgotten whispered into the void. "The Vanguard lives. Humanity endures." In the throne hall of Velnari Prime, Queen Lysera looked up at the stars, her voice soft but resolute. "The legends are not legends anymore," she said. Thorn, standing beside her, replied quietly, "No, Your Majesty, they never were." The galaxy slept uneasily. In the weeks after the battle for Velnari, stars seemed dimmer, the air between worlds heavier. Every empire felt it. Something ancient was moving again. Across the far reaches of known space, forgotten Terran satellites began to blink awake. They had waited for 10,000 years, silent and loyal, buried beneath cosmic dust. Now one by one they pulsed with life, carrying a single signal. Vanguard protocol, humanity rising. On a lonely mining station at the edge of the Dravik border, workers stared at the sky as dozens of red dots appeared on their sensors. "Asteroids?" one asked nervously. But the dots moved with purpose, shifting formation, glowing brighter. The supervisor whispered, "That's not rocks." Moments later, the first human warship emerged from hyperspace, ancient yet unstoppable, its hull marked with battle scars older than the station itself. Its name blazed across the dark, TSS Resolute. Then another appeared and another, until the entire horizon was filled with human ships. On Velnari Prime, Queen Lysera stood before her balcony again. Her world had changed forever. Her people now whispered the word human, not with laughter, but with reverence. Commander Jace Thorne stood beside her, dressed in repaired Terran armor, his presence calm and steady. Lysera's voice was quiet. "It's spreading, isn't it?" Thorne nodded. The Vanguard signal reached the core sectors. Every human ship ever built had a backup core waiting for reactivation. They're all waking now. She turned to him. "How many are there?" He looked up at the twin suns, his eyes reflecting their light. "Enough to change everything." News flooded the galactic networks. Transmission after transmission showed impossible sights. Human ships rising from beneath ice worlds, breaking through ruined moons, flying out of dead nebulae, each one powered by technology long lost to the modern galaxy. On the capital world of the Oran Dominion, their ruler slammed his hand against the table. "They were myths," he shouted. "How can they be real?" His war minister whispered, trembling. "My lord, our ancestors fought them once. It was called the Age of Fire. Humanity did not lose. They vanished by choice." "Vanished by choice?" The ruler repeated, disbelieving. "Yes, my lord," the minister said quietly. "They said humanity locked itself away, waiting for the galaxy to need them again." The ruler stared at the holographic image of the Vanguard, its light spreading across half the sky. "Then they must believe we need saving," he said bitterly. "And that terrifies me." Back in orbit of Velnari Prime, hundreds of Terran ships now hovered around the Vanguard, forming an armada that stretched beyond sight. Some ships looked old and scarred, others sleek and polished as if they had never slept at all. Lysera watched from her throne room's viewport. "They're gathering here," she said. "Why Velnari?" Thorne's voice was low, steady. "Because you found us. Queen, you woke the first of us, and humanity remembers those who show mercy." She turned to him, her tone thoughtful. "So the first human to awaken after 10,000 years chose an alien world to stand beside." He smiled faintly. "We've always been better when we fight for others, not just for ourselves." In the skies above, the Terran fleet aligned in silent formation. Their engines glowed gold and blue, humming with energy that shook the vacuum itself. The Vanguard's AI announced, "Command connection established, all human fleets synchronized." Awaiting directives, Thorne placed his hand on the console, his eyes sharp. "Broadcast my message to all sectors." The AI complied, and across the galaxy, every screen, every comms channel, every satellite lit up with the same signal. A man's voice filled the stars, steady, powerful, carrying across thousands of worlds. "This is Commander Jace Thorne, Terran Defense Corps. Humanity once walked among you as allies, as warriors, as protectors. You buried our name under fear and stories. But legends do not die. We have returned, not for vengeance, but for remembrance. To remind the stars that courage has a face in every empire." People froze. On trade ships, alien homes, and battle stations, billions listened. The Dravic leaders turned pale. The Galactic Council fell into silence. Even Lysera felt her chest tighten as she listened to him speak. The voice of a human echoed through her world. Steady and proud, when the transmission ended, Thorne turned to her. "They'll either unite or destroy themselves trying to fight us." Lysera looked at him carefully. "And what will you do if they attack?" He gave a quiet smile. "Then they'll learn the same lesson the last galaxy learned. Humans don't start wars. We end them." That night, as Velnari's skies filled with the glow of Terran ships, the citizens gathered in the streets watching in awe. Children pointed to the stars, whispering, "The warriors from the stories are real." Lysera stood at her window, her reflection lit by starlight. "You changed everything," she said softly. Thorne stood beside her, silent for a moment, then replied, "No, Your Majesty, you did. You chose to believe in what others laughed at." She looked at him with a faint smile. "Then what happens now, Commander?" He gazed at the horizon where the stars burned like embers. "Now," he said quietly, The galaxy remembers what it forgot, far beyond the rim. Deep in the black, the last Terran beacon activated, and a single message repeated endlessly through the void. Humanity is awake, the legend lives. The galaxy no longer slept. It watched, it whispered, and it trembled. The awakening of the Terran fleet had changed everything. Borders meant nothing now. Politics turned to dust beneath the weight of history reborn. Every empire looked up at the stars and saw the impossible. Humanity alive again on Velnari Prime, the capital world where it all began. The twin suns rose on a new age. The skyline shimmered beneath the silver-blue glow of Terran warships drifting quietly above the planet. Like angels forged in iron and light, in the great throne hall, Queen Lysera walked slowly toward the balcony, her royal cloak trailing behind her. The city below was filled with cheers, songs, and disbelief. Children painted the human emblem on their walls. Merchants sold trinkets shaped like Terran ships, and poets called this new dawn the Age of Return. Behind her, Commander Jace Thorn entered silently, his armor polished, his presence still carrying the weight of 1,000 forgotten wars. "You should smile, Queen," he said softly. "Your people celebrate a new chapter." Lysera turned slightly, her voice calm. "They celebrate what they don't yet understand." Thorn walked beside her, looking out at the skies filled with Terran ships. "No one ever does, not at first," he said. "When humans first reached the stars, the galaxy laughed at us too." She looked at him curiously. "And what happened after?" He smiled faintly, his eyes distant. "We stopped laughing across the galaxy. Chaos mixed with awe. The Galactic Council, once proud rulers of the core worlds, sat in silence as reports came in. Entire fleets defecting, colonies swearing loyalty to the Terran Alliance. Some out of hope, some out of fear. The Dravic clans, once the terror of the stars, had vanished. Their homeworld gone dark, their leaders untraceable. The rumor spread that they had seen the Vanguard's wrath and fled beyond the edge of known space. In distant nebulae, new signals appeared. Unknown, powerful human relics awakening. Ancient orbital fortresses, AI-controlled armories, ghost fleets rising from starlight. The galaxy was shifting again, and everyone knew it. On Velnari Prime, Lysera gathered her high council. Generals, ministers, and scholars filled the chamber, the air thick with emotion. One of her generals stood. "Your Majesty, some fear we've invited danger. What if humanity decides to conquer?" Lysera's voice was clear. "Then we stand beside them, not against them." The room fell silent. She continued. "We mocked them once, called them myths, and now they stand among us again. We will not repeat the arrogance of those who came before us, Thalen." The old seer smiled faintly from the corner. "You sound like them now, Majesty." She looked at him, a small smile crossing her lips. "Maybe I've learned what it means to believe." Outside, on the surface of Velnari, Terran engineers worked alongside Velnari builders. The once fractured city now glowed with hybrid technology. Human steel fused with alien crystal. Children played beneath banners showing two symbols side by side, the Terran Defense Corps and the Velnari crest, and above them all, the Vanguard stood in orbit watching silently, a guardian older than every star they could name. Later that night, under the glow of twin moons, Lysera stood on the observation deck of the Vanguard, the stars stretching infinitely before her. Commander Thorn joined her quietly, his gaze fixed on the endless dark. "You've changed everything," she said softly. "You turned stories into truth." Thorn shook his head. "No, Your Majesty, truth was always there. People just stopped looking for it." She glanced at him. "And what happens now?" He took a deep breath. "Now we rebuild. Humanity doesn't seek to rule again. We seek to remember, to teach, to protect what's left." She tilted her head slightly. "And if the galaxy refuses?" He smiled faintly. "Then they'll learn that the stars themselves remember the sound of a human heartbeat." A soft light flickered across the console beside them. The Vanguard's AI spoke. "Incoming transmission of Priority 1 from the Terran Command Network." Thorn nodded. "Put it through." A holographic map filled the room, showing hundreds of Terran fleets gathering at different points across the galaxy. "Humanity has awakened," the AI announced. "Command directives merging. Unified fleet forming under Terran leadership." Lysera's breath caught as she saw the sheer scale. Thousands of ships, millions of lives, all answering one call. "Is this war?" she asked quietly. Thorn's eyes softened. "No, Majesty," he said. "It's remembrance." He turned toward the stars. "When the galaxy forgets what honor means, Humanity returns to remind it. In the final broadcast of the age, Thorne's voice was carried across every frequency in the galaxy. "We are not conquerors," he said. "We are witnesses of what the galaxy once was, and brave. Curious, alive. We do not bring fear. We bring the memory of courage. To every world that doubts, look to Velnari, where a queen once laughed at legends, and then stood beside one. The message ended. But the echo remained, traveling from world to world, passing through every heart that still dared to dream." On the observation deck, Lysera turned to Thorne, her voice soft. "So this is how legends live forever." He smiled faintly. "No, Your Majesty, this is how they begin again. Together?" They watched as the Terran fleet spread out into the stars, their golden trails shining like comets of hope, and for the first time in 10,000 years, the galaxy no longer looked away from the name human. It whispered it, it feared it, it respected it, and it believed.